What if the moment that could change your entire life is not something big, loud, or dramatic, but a quiet decision you make when nobody's watching? A small turning point that feels almost invisible at first, yet slowly begins to reshape everything you thought was permanent. And if you're listening right now feeling stuck in the same routine, the same doubts, the same silent frustration that follows you every day, then stay with this story, because somewhere inside it you might recognize the exact moment your own life can begin to change. There was a young man named Daniel who looked completely ordinary from the outside, the kind of person people pass on the street without noticing. Someone with simple clothes, a normal job, and dreams he rarely talked about. Not because the dreams were small, but because he was afraid they were too big for the life he was living. Every morning he woke up with a quiet promise that today would be different, that today he would finally start working toward the future he imagined late at night. Yet every evening ended the same way, tired, distracted, and slightly disappointed in himself, telling his heart the same soft lie that tomorrow would be the real beginning. Days slowly turned into months, and months began to feel like proof that nothing would ever change. And the most painful part was not failure. It was the feeling of being capable of more while doing nothing about it. Maybe you know this feeling too, that silent weight of unrealized potential, that voice inside whispering that your life could be bigger, brighter, more meaningful, if only you could take the first real step. One quiet night, after another long day that looked exactly like the day before it, Daniel sat alone in his small room scrolling endlessly on his phone, not because he enjoyed it, but because it helped him forget the uncomfortable truth that he was slowly drifting away from the person he wanted to become. Something felt different that night though, not dramatic, not emotional, just honest. For the first time, he stopped distracting himself and simply asked one question that most people avoid their entire lives. What happens if nothing changes? The question stayed in the room like silence you cannot escape. And for the first time, he allowed himself to imagine the future honestly. 10 years passing the same way. The same routine. The same excuses. The same quiet regret. And that image scared him more than failure ever could. Because failure at least means you tried. But regret means you never even began. In that quiet moment. Without music. Without motivation. Without anyone cheering for him. Daniel made one small decision. Not a perfect plan, not a dramatic promise, just a simple choice that tomorrow he would do one difficult thing he had been avoiding for years. That was all. No big speech, no instant transformation. Just one decision, and strangely, that tiny decision felt heavier and more real than all the motivational thoughts he had ever had before. The next morning, nothing magical happened. The sun rose the same way. His room looked the same. His doubts were still there, but something inside him had shifted slightly, like a door opening just a few inches. He wanted to ignore the decision, to delay it again, to return to comfort, because comfort always feels safe in the moment, even when it quietly steals your future. But this time, he did something different. He kept his promise to himself, even though nobody would know if he didn't. That first action was small and imperfect, but it was real. And real action has a quiet power that excuses never will. If this story is touching something inside you right now, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe to because every story here is created to remind you that change is possible even when life feels stuck. And your small support helps these messages reach someone who might truly need them. As days passed, Daniel kept repeating the same simple rule. One difficult step each day. Nothing extreme, nothing impossible. Just consistent honesty with himself. And slowly, something unexpected began to happen. Not outside, but inside. His confidence did not arrive like excitement. It arrived like calm. His fear did not disappear, but it stopped controlling him. His future did not change overnight, but for the first time it felt like something he could actually influence. People around him did not notice anything special at first, because real growth is usually invisible in the beginning. It happens quietly beneath the surface, like roots growing before a tree appears. Weeks later, small results started showing. Better focus, clearer thinking, more energy, and most importantly, a new belief forming inside him. The belief that maybe his life was not fixed after all. This is the moment many people misunderstand, because they think success comes from motivation. But the truth is, motivation is fragile. It fades when life becomes hard, while a decision repeated daily becomes identity. And identity is powerful. Daniel was not becoming perfect. He was becoming consistent. and consistency slowly builds a future that once felt impossible. There were still difficult days, moments of doubt, times he wanted to quit and return to the comfort of doing nothing. But now he understood something important. Discomfort is not the enemy. Meaningless comfort is. Every time he chose effort instead of escape, he was quietly voting for the person he wanted to become. Months passed, and the life that once felt frozen began to move. New opportunities, new confidence, new direction. None of it sudden, all of it earned. And the most surprising realization of all was this: the biggest change did not come from the world around him. It came from the single decision he made alone in a quiet room when nobody was watching. The same kind of decision that might be waiting for you right now. Because the truth is, your life rarely changes in one dramatic moment. It changes when you finally get tired of your own excuses and choose honesty over comfort. Maybe your decision is to start learning something new, to leave a toxic habit, to believe in yourself again, or simply to try one more time when quitting feels easier. Whatever it is, it will probably look small in the beginning, but small decisions repeated with courage have the power to reshape an entire future. Daniel's story is not special because he was talented or lucky. It is powerful because it proves that ordinary people can create extraordinary change the moment they decide to stop waiting. And now the real question is not what Daniel did. The real question is what you will do after hearing this. Because inspiration without action becomes regret, and you deserve more than regret. Imagine looking back 1 year from today and realizing that this was the moment everything quietly began to change. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. That future is closer than you think, and it begins with one honest step. If this story made you feel something real, share it with someone who might need hope today. And before you go, tell me in the comments what one decision you know you should make, because writing it down might be the first step toward making it real. Your story is still being written, and one decision can truly change everything. And the strange part about real change is that it rarely feels exciting while it is happening, because true growth is often quiet, repetitive, and sometimes even boring. Yet inside that boring repetition, something powerful is being built, something strong enough to hold the life you once believed was impossible. Daniel began to notice that the habits he once resisted were slowly becoming normal. Waking up earlier no longer felt painful. Focused work no longer felt forced. And the distractions that once controlled his time started losing their power, not because the world changed, but because he did. This is where most people give up, in the slow middle where results are still small and effort still feels heavy. But Daniel kept going, not perfectly, not confidently, just consistently. And consistency has a quiet magic that the world rarely talks about. There were mornings when doubt returned and whispered that nothing was really different. Nights when progress felt invisible. Days when old habits tried to pull him back into comfort. Yet every time he remembered the question that changed everything: what happens if nothing changes? And that question pushed him forward again, step by step, choice by choice. Slowly, the distance between his old life and his new direction began to grow. And for the first time, he felt something unfamiliar but beautiful. Self-respect, the kind that does not come from applause or success, but from keeping promises to yourself. Opportunities started appearing in small ways, a new skill improving, someone noticing his effort, a door opening where there was once only a wall. And although none of it looked dramatic from the outside, inside it felt like proof that his decision mattered. Months later, people began asking what changed, how he became more focused, more calm, more certain about his future. And he realized the answer was simple but powerful. Nothing changed in one day. Everything changed because of one decision repeated every day. This is the truth many people wait too long to understand. Your future is not built in giant moments of motivation. It is built in quiet, daily choices that nobody sees. Daniel still faced fear, still had hard days, still felt uncertain sometimes. But the difference now was that fear no longer stopped him, because action had become stronger than doubt. He understood that courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement despite fear, and that realization alone can change a life. Imagine if he had ignored that small decision in the quiet room. Imagine if he had chosen comfort again. His life might have looked safe on the surface but empty underneath, and years later he would still be wondering what could have been. That is why this moment matters, not just for Daniel, but for you. Because somewhere in your life there is also a quiet decision waiting, a step you know you should take, a change you know you need to make, a version of yourself you keep postponing. And the truth is, waiting does not make the decision easier. It only makes regret heavier. But the beautiful part is this: it is not too late. It is never too late to choose differently. Never too late to begin again. Never too late to become the person you secretly hope you can be. You do not need a perfect plan, perfect timing, or perfect confidence. You only need one honest decision, followed by one real step. That is how Daniel's new life began, and that is how yours can begin too. 1 year later, his world looked completely different. Not because luck suddenly found him, but because he slowly built a foundation strong enough to hold success when it arrived. The routine that once trapped him had been replaced by purpose. The doubt that once controlled him had been replaced by quiet belief. And the future that once felt distant now felt possible. Yet the most important change was invisible. He trusted himself. And self-trust is one of the most powerful forces a person can have. Because when you trust yourself, you stop waiting for permission to live the life you want. And maybe that is the real message of this story. Not that Daniel changed, but that change is available to anyone willing to decide, including you. So before this story ends, pause for a second and ask yourself honestly, what is the one decision you already know you should make? The one you keep delaying. The one that could quietly change everything if you finally choose it. Hold that thought, because this is not just a story you listen to. This could be the moment your own story begins to turn in a new direction. If you stayed with this message until now, it means something inside you is ready for more, ready for growth, ready for change. And that feeling is important. Do not ignore it. Write in the comments the one decision you are choosing today, because when you put your decision into words, it becomes more real, and someone else reading it might find the courage they need to. Share this story with a friend who feels stuck, because one message at the right time can change a life. And if you believe in stories that inspire real change, make sure you are subscribed to English Star Stories so you never miss the next reminder that your future is still in your hands. Remember this always: big transformations begin with small, honest choices, and one decision, made with courage and repeated with faith, truly can change everything.